Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Desert Hot Springs special meeting of the Planning Commission, Monday, November 21st, 2022. It is 6 p.m. We will go ahead and call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cook,
Present.
Commissioner Grant,
Present.
Commissioner Wagstaff, Vice Chair Nindell,
Present.
Chair Duffel.
Present. At this time, if you'll join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Can everybody still hear me? Testing?
Yes, we have you, Jennifer. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll
Okay,
go.
I cannot hear the city.
Jennifer, can you hear us?
Yes, now I can. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. At this time, we will go ahead and move on to the public comments portion of the meeting. At special meetings, public comments are considered under the agenda item. Please state your name and city of residence for the record. Are there any public comments at this time?
We have none.
Thank you very much. So we will go ahead and move on to the only item on tonight's agenda, a resolution of the Planning Commission recommending that the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, California, 1, adopt the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration. 2, approve Desert Gateway Specific Plan Amendment Number SP22-3, amending the Desert Harvest Specific Plan in the city. 3, approve Design Review Number 22-1. 4, approve Track Map Number 22-3. And 5, approve an ordinance amending Chapter 17.190, an application to amend the Desert Harvest Specific Plan and develop a logistics center, IRI-DHS Land LLC. May I have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. The specific plan is a single parcel of approximately 65 acres on the northwest corner of 20th Avenue and Calle de los Romos as shown here. The land use setting surrounding the project is as follows. To the north is zone light industrial with an existing cannabis business park. To the west is zone commercial business park with existing multi-tenant buildings. On the south is bounded by 20th Avenue and the I-10 freeway, and east is zone light industrial and is currently undeveloped land. The Desert Gateway specific plan was originally approved by the City Council on November 7, 2017 as a Desert Harvest specific plan. The original project included the approval of a specific plan, tentative parcel map, conditional use permit, development agreement, general plan amendment, and a zone tax amendment. The Desert Harvest specific plan was for the development of a mixed-use commercial and industrial project that allowed for the development of a 1.5 million square foot cannabis cultivation facility and a retail commercial of up to 45,000 square feet. On June 17th, 2022, the applicant IRI-DHS Land submitted a specific plan amendment, a design review, a track map, and an addendum to the mitigated negative declaration. This amendment to the specific plan is to allow for logistics/warehouses uses as well as commercial retail and also provide for updated contemporary development guidelines and regulations. The Desert Gateway specific plan amendment proposes to develop a mixed-use project on approximately 65 acres within 2 planning areas as shown here that would provide for a variety of retail, commercial, logistics, and light industrial uses. Planning Area 1, shown in red, is approximately 11 acres and would allow for up to 42,000 square feet of retail commercial. Planning Area 2, which is shown in purple, would allow for light industrial uses of up to a little over 1 million square feet. Per Section 3.2 of the permitted uses of the specific plan amendment, a design review application is required for the development of a proposed logistics and warehousing building. The proposed development will be located on Planning Area 2, which allows for this type of use with approval of a design review application. The applicant proposes to develop a 1,061,090 square feet logistics and warehousing center on a 53-acre parcel. The proposed development would be a single story with a building height not to exceed 50 feet. The proposed elevations will be a tilt-up construction and have a smooth concrete palette of white, blue, grays, and red to add variation. Sorry. The entry doors show a canopy installed above to show the pedestrian entries, and the windows will have a blue reflective glass. Jesus. Shown here are some perspective views for reference. The loading areas will be suitable for various vehicle types, including semi-trucks that will be provided at the north of the building and accessible via a primary and secondary service gate on Calle de los Romos. Vehicles would enter through the northerly gate, proceed to the processing building, load and unload, then exit through the southerly gate. Provided here is a parking calculation. So total parking will be provided for 1,047 vehicles. 498 of those will be for trailers, and 368 of those will be for vehicles. Landscaping plants, materials, and irrigation systems will be installed by the project developer and maintained in accordance with the specific plan amendment. Consistent with the emphasis placed by the city on water conservation, the plant species selected for this project are desert with irrigation systems that comply with the city-adopted recommendations of the Mission Springs Water District. The project is also proposing a tentative parcel map number 38435 as part of the entitlement application. The tentative parcel map is for the subdivision of a single parcel of approximately 64 acres into 4 individual parcels. Parcel 1 will be 3.1 acres. Parcel 2 will be 4.13 acres. Parcel 3 is approximately 3.46 acres, and parcel 4 is approximately 52.72 acres. Staff is requesting to update the following conditions. Condition number 85, and would like to add the underlined text to read as follows. Should the applicant/developer not be able to obtain right-of-way, the developer shall work with the city engineer to develop an alternative interim design or bond for the additional future pavement. And condition 86 to be revised to the underlined text to read as follows. The applicant/developer shall construct Calle de los Romos from the north project boundary to 19th Avenue within the existing right-of-way to provide a total of 24 feet of paved width, 12 feet for each direction. Pursuant to Section 15164D of the CEQA guidelines, an addendum is appropriate if the project changes or modifications do not result in any new significant impacts or substantial increase in severity of previously identified significant impacts. The Planning Commission only needs to make a finding that the request for an addendum is consistent with the original M&D and no further analysis is required. At this time, this is a recommendation that the Planning Commission approve a resolution of the Planning Commission recommending that the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs do the following. 1. Adopt the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration. 2. Approve the Desert Gateway Specific Plan number 22-3, amending the Desert Harvest Specific Plan. 3. Approve Design Review number 22-1. 4. Approve Track Map number 22-3. And 5, approve an ordinance amending Chapter 17.190, an application to amend the Desert Harvest Specific Plan and development of a logistics/warehouse center for APN 666-370-019, subject to the conditions of approval and findings. I also do want to note that since the posting of the agenda, we have received 2 comment letters, which you guys all received, and we do have copies in the back. That concludes my report. I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your staff report, Patricia. Very much appreciated. At this time, we'll move on to entertaining questions of staff from the Planning Commission. Commissioner Cook, do you have any questions for staff at this time?
Not at this moment, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook. Commissioner Grant?
Not at this time, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Vice Chair Nindell?
I just wanted to just raise one issue, and it's sort of related to the two letters we got today. Can you just sort of update us on any discussions within the city government, at least, for how you're dealing with the road construction down, after Amazon was approved, and now we have this project. Can you just give us an update on what the thinking is on roads leading up to 19th Avenue, I guess it is 19th Avenue?
So in the conditions of approval, there's a list of all the required improvements on-site and off-site based upon their traffic analysis. So I don't know if you have any specific questions.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is when we looked at the last action for Amazon, there was a lot of talk about, added congestion to Indian, where it meets Interstate 10. And it was mentioned that there will be studies, traffic studies eventually, and discussion and decisions with the county and so forth, and even the state. I'm just curious, have any of those moved along?
So all the recommendations that were in the traffic study that was done for this project are included in the conditions of approval. I don't know if there have been any additional discussions with the county related to this project specifically.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the traffic study that was in the paperwork, and it talked about adding a light at 19th Avenue, I guess. But were there any other outcomes of the Amazon approval that are in addition to that you know of?
Mr. Vice Chair, if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt. Unfortunately, we have to stay specific to this particular item that's on the agenda this evening. We can't discuss the Amazon project that we had before us in previous months. If there is a question, though, in regards to traffic or road studies to this particular project, we can entertain those, but I don't think staff would be prepared for something that isn't on the agenda this evening.
Right. Okay. So, but let me just finish up then.
Okay.
All you're aware of is what you just mentioned, in other words.
Yeah, they'll be
Okay.
conditioned, or they are conditioned to do their fair share of improvements based upon their traffic study.
Okay, and my only other question is, in different places in the documentation, the number of hotels, sometimes it says there's one proposed, in other places it says two, even when you account for the difference in the original plan and the current one. Is it one hotel or two, I guess is what I'm getting at.
So they're allowing for up to 150 keys. I'm not sure if there's going to be one or two hotels. And we can ask the applicant once they get up here and make a statement.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Vice Chair Nindell. I have no questions at this time of staff, so at this time we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and take testimony from the applicant.
Okay, it's a little better? Okay, perfect. So good evening, Chairman Duffel and members of the Planning Commission. Christopher Brizuela here with MSA Consulting. I'm representing the applicant today. I did want to say thanks to Patricia and staff for the staff report and the presentation. So it's, pretty good working with them. We have the project team here today, and we're available to answer any questions to, I guess to clarify on some of the questions they just brought up for the hotel keys. So the specific plan does allow up to 150 keys. Again, it's just a policy document. There's no specific number of hotels that are going in there, and there's none proposed at this time. So it's an allowable use up to 150 keys. So it could be either one or two hotels, and those would have to be analyzed when they come in, either through design review or through whatever other applicable permit here in front of the Planning Commission.
Okay, fantastic, wonderful. We'll go ahead and at this time, we'll go ahead and have you take a seat if you have nothing further, and we'll have you come back up for questions in a moment.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. This time, is there any comments from the public for, neutral, or against? Okay,
We have none right now.
don't see any. Okay. I know we had some questions from the Planning Commission about the project, so if you wouldn't mind coming back up to the podium for just a moment, sir.
Sure.
And Vice Chair Nandel, we'll go ahead and start with you.
I don't have any other questions now.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Commissioner Grant, did you have questions?
Yes, I do, Chair. Just for clarity's sake, is the particular applicant, is Mr. Avenatti involved with this project?
No, we haven't been involved with him since I think 2017. He's not involved in this project or any ownership or anything. That's that's in the past, not with this project.
Okay.
So the owner, the owner's representative, Bob Emery, is here today. But yeah, to answer it, it's a short no. He's not involved.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, Commissioner Cook?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole premise of this primarily is that warehouse, correct? A 1 million square foot warehouse?
Correct. It'd be a logistics facility.
That's
Correct.
the first project you're going to do, right?
Right. So it'd be right. It's going to be phased. So the project that you see in front of you today, obviously, is the specific plan amendment, which would allow for the master planning of the entire site. But the actual design review approval is the logistics facility that you're seeing in front of you today. So the commercial planning area that you see just right in front of 20th, that's that would be for some time in the future once a development program is designed for that, and once specific tenants come in to build that. And again, that will come in when that design comes in. That would be something that will be coming in front of the Planning Commission for approval. So what you see today is what's getting approved, but then anything else that comes in the future will still have to come back through the design review, conditions of approval, staff review, all that good stuff.
Okay, you talked about the hotels, hotels, plural, and retail space. What's projected timeline on development of that?
I don't think there's any plan quite yet. I think it was more, so the reason the commercial is in there, this goes back to 2017 when we were working with the city on the original Desert Harvest specific plan. The city council at the time, well, if you recall back in 2017, there was that huge cannabis boom here in Desert Hot Springs. And there was a concern from the city council that a lot of the commercial land was going to be taken up by cannabis. So when our project came in, we worked hand in hand with the city council, with, I think it was Mayor Scott Mattis and I think Russell Betts and a few of the others, on making sure that, because this project was originally just zoned entirely industrial, there wasn't any commercial portion. So at the time, we made that strip in front of 20th Avenue commercial so that there would be some sensitivity for the city to get that commercial space in there and provide, the commercial amenities to people that are driving by off the 10. So short answer, that's where that came from. But there's no, there's nobody on board yet to help develop that, but that would be part of ownership, trying to bring somebody on board and making that work sometime in the future. But yeah, there's no dates or anything with that yet.
Yeah, that's my primary concern, that there's no stipulation on timeline for any of the other development.
For the for the commercial portion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
the
that's something that we
hotels.
try to work with, or that ownership will try to work with on bringing somebody on board. But until you have somebody in there, it's hard to bring somebody in.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, but yeah, we're sensitive to that.
okay,
All right, thank you, Commissioner Cook.
thank you.
I have no questions from you at this time. You can go ahead and take a seat, sir. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time and move on to Planning Commission discussion. In regards to your question, Commissioner Cook, we do have time frames established for permits and whatnot. If an applicant doesn't meet those time frames, they are welcome to apply for extensions and whatnot, and those are seen on a case-by-case basis. So if something isn't developed in a certain amount of time for those approvals, then eventually they would come back and ask for extensions, like some of the other projects we've seen coming and asking for extensions. Beyond that, I have no other discussion. Commissioner Cook, did you have any discussion?
I'd like to make a motion that we continue for a week, or to a date certain we can all agree upon later. I think this needs more discussion and a lot more definition.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Well, looking at the project and going through the documents, my discussion is I don't see why we couldn't proceed tonight one way or another. I'd hate to put this off any longer, but with that being said, we'll go ahead and see where the vote takes us if there's no other comments. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Would the seconder please make the selection on the screen? Okay. No, it looks like we have, Ms. Grant selected to make the motion. You could, yes, ma'am. You should be able to deselect it. Yes, please. If we could clear the votes and send it again. Still have it up on the screen. I closed it. Okay, let's go ahead and resubmit that vote. We'll have Commissioner Cook move and Commissioner Grant second that motion on the screen.
It's asking me to second
Okay,
We could
let's
just
go
go
ahead and
to
move to a
hand
roll call
vote.
vote on this, please.
So the motion is to continue it for a week,
Yes, would
to have
put
time
us,
to review,
Minimally a week,
minimally a week.
or to another date
A
that we
date
all agree
undetermined,
upon.
we'll have to go with, and it was moved by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Grant.
May I ask a question? Is it too late?
well, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. If you withdraw your second, we would have to hold to see if there would be a second before we could move on. If you second the motion, we can continue into discussion. and
May I
then move into
ask
a
the
vote.
mover if he will withdraw his vote for the motion so it could be to a date specific?
Okay, the seconder of your motion would like to know if you would alter your motion to a date specific.
Certainly, absolutely, that we're all in agreement upon.
Well, you mentioned 1 week, that would put us at the 28th, so if...
1 week at 6 PM, 1 week from today.
There is a December 13th Planning Commission meeting, not to schedule things out, but you're talking about another special meeting?
So we have a motion on the floor to postpone this meeting until the 28th of November, which is a Monday, 1 week from today. Ms. Grant, did you second that vote or that motion?
I'll need him to withdraw that, if at all possible, if we could make it to a date specific, I can second that.
What date specific are you looking for?
A date specific to the next Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, so Ms. Grant is looking for a motion to have this item on the next regular Planning Commission meeting. Move back
I'll
to the
make that
motion.
motion.
Okay, the motion is to put this meeting off until the next regular Planning Commission meeting, has been seconded by Commissioner Grant. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Cook?
Aye.
Commissioner Grant?
Aye.
Vice Chair Nindell?
No.
Chair Duffel?
No.
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
Okay, so we are back at Planning Commission discussion. At this time, I would like to make a motion for a resolution of the Planning Commission recommending that the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, California, 1, adopt the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration, 2, approve the Desert Gateway Specific Plan Amendment Number SP 22-3, amending the Desert Harvest Specific Plan in the city, 3, approve design review number 22-1, 4, approve track map number 22-3, and 5, approve an ordinance amending chapter 17.190, an application to amend the Desert Harvest Specific Plan and develop a logistics center, IRIDHS Land LLC, as well as modifications to conditions 85 and 86 to read as staff presented. That is my motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, there is no discussion. Can we go ahead and move for a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Cook,
No.
Commissioner Grant,
No.
Vice Chair Nandel,
Yes.
Chair Duffel.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Okay, at this time, we have reached a stalemate on two different motions, so we are back to Planning Commission discussion. Is there anything specific from Commissioner Cook that he's missing or he would like to see to possibly move this forward this evening, or anything from Commissioner Grant that she would like to see to possibly move this forward this evening?
There was some, may I have the floor, Chair?
Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Commissioner
My
Grant.
apologies. Okay. So for me, I had some questions, and I might as well put them on the table perhaps for a discussion so we can get some clarity. And mine was definitely this was directed to staff. At any point or duration, since this project was first approved in 2017, and I'm very well aware that it was a specific cannabis project, I want to know, are we in compliance, number one? Is there additional EIR report needed? There was a concern that Vice Chair Dendell brought up, which is a concern for me, which is the traffic study. Will we be in compliance? Will there be additional things done in order for us to go ahead and vote a yes? But presently, right now, I don't have enough information to make that decision. So if we can get some clarity.
Okay, Commissioner Grant, let's see if we can't get you some clarity from staff. Which one of you would like to take it?
So I will defer to the environmental consultant to be able to provide you with the CEQA addendum, if that's okay, Chair.
Very good. We'll go ahead and reopen the public hearing and have the applicant step forward again. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate letting us come back up here and maybe discuss the project a little bit more. So in regards to the traffic study, that was prepared by Urban Crossroads, who has done a lot of work not just here in the not just here in Desert Hot Springs, but also across the valley. They're very reputable, and they've worked hand in hand with staff, and it was something that, I mean, we don't just produce a traffic report and just give it to staff. We actually work with Julian and everyone else in planning to make sure that we get the traffic scope bought off, and that becomes part of the not just the public record, but part of the documentation that backs up the CEQA document. In addition, we did see the letters that came in from the various groups challenging the traffic study. We don't necessarily agree with those. Again, the traffic study, the environmental document was something that we prepared with staff as the lead agency. So it's something that we work together with staff here, not just on that particular project, but with our experience working here in Desert Hot Springs, and then also with staff's insight on putting that together. So it was a collaborative effort between the two. We do have Michelle Witherspoon, who's our environmental director at MSA, who could probably go more into the details if there's anything specific that we needed to answer in the traffic study. But that's like a really high level, I guess, nutshell summary of what went into putting that together.
Thank you. Is it possible that we can speak to your consultant?
Sure.
If my fellow commissioners have any questions.
Good evening, Chairman Duffel and Commissioners. My name is Michelle Witherspoon. I am with MSA Consulting, and I worked with the city to prepare the CEQA document addendum. And it sounds like you have questions related to the Sierra Club letter that were perhaps brought up in that letter. I can respond to them one by one if you'd like for me to.
I initially had questions in regards to that, like being a little bit familiar with the project when its conception started and the change. I am aware of what happened with what my fellow commissioner mentioned that we can't discuss here.
Oh, yes.
But there is a concern because our city, goes out. We only have two ways in and out, a three if you give going back over towards San Bernardino area. So my concern at that particular time, because we're not at liberty for knowing when, the timeframes of coming in, for if there's big trucks that are coming in. But we do have residents within the community that do have to get to work and get back, or, transport their children to school. I know it's not enough, maybe, but it's important to me as a commissioner.
Sure. The traffic study that was prepared for the addendum included a list of cumulative projects, and one of those cumulative projects was a $3 million cube warehouse in that vicinity. And so the numbers associated with the unnamed project were included as background traffic within this study. And so the level of service impacts were also analyzed for each of the interstate off-ramps and on-ramps in the area, and each level of service was considered acceptable, at an acceptable level of service. And on top of that, level of service is not technically a CEQA document, a CEQA threshold anymore. It's now just something that helps you to make a decision that the project is consistent with the general plan. And so congestion, CEQA doesn't actually care that much about anymore. And their focus now is on VMT. And just to keep that in mind. However, the traffic study, which did include a 3 million square foot warehouse as background traffic, did determine that each of the on-ramps and off-ramps operated at an acceptable level of service.
One moment, Commissioner Cook. Commissioner Grant still has the floor.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Cook.
How long ago was this study done?
The most recent study was completed in June of this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook. Is there any other questions of the applicant at this time?
Not at this time for me, Chair.
Okay. Is there any other information the applicant would like to present before we close the public hearing?
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Bob Emery. I am president of the Emery Group. I'm here representing the applicant and the owner of the property. I just want to address some of the questions I heard. Firstly, we purchased a property a while back. I don't remember that name. I heard it earlier here today. I didn't deal with him directly, but he has nothing to do with it. We own it free and clear, and nothing to do with any past ownership. So I want to make sure that's clear. And Commissioner Cook, I just wanted to address these projects. Emery Group is a real estate investment group. I've worked on 25 plus projects in the Inland Empire over the past 20 years doing entitlement and development and other projects up and down the West Coast. We're a real small group out of Vancouver, Canada and San Diego, California. We focus on looking for opportunities to come in and where we can add some, do some entitlements, solve some problems, and then partner on a project like this, partner with a large developer to bring them in. In this case, I think it's going to be two different developers to address your issue, specifically industrial and a retail developer, to create a great project. Entitling these properties takes time, and I thank the staff of the City of Desert Hot Springs for working with us over the last 9 months, and I got a team of really top-end consultants working on this site. Before we can get to a point where we can find the partners to develop, in the case of retail, secure the right tenants, we need to be further along on the entitlements. Now, I've already had some conversations directly with some particular tenants. I can't tell you here today that we're ready to sign any deals or get any buildings up, but it'll be, if we're fortunate enough to get approval or recommended approval here today and approval at City Council that next morning, it's the first thing I'm working on. And while we are phasing the industrial first, I'm wasting no time into getting that second part going. I think it is viable. It becomes a lot more viable with the industrial being entitled. And retailers like to see the whites of the eyes of the actual big tenants, big job producers. This particular building we're looking at, I believe in the staff report, talks about 450 jobs. That's not an overstatement. In fact, that's probably on the conservative side of where I see this. It depends on the tenant. Again, I do not have a tenant specifically. We're certainly following tenants in the market that may be interested. But again, given the situation, how long it takes to get entitlements, some of the risks involved with entitlements, no one's going to even engage in conversations until we get past that point. But I think we're looking at a significant number of jobs. And Commissioner Grant, I think it's important to remember that when we identified the site, it came with a bunch of entitlements. It was a 1.5 million square foot project that had anticipated a whole bunch of traffic. And I wasn't part, obviously, of any previous meetings you had with our adjacent developer. But when they had those meetings, those entitlements for all that traffic was part of their studies. We're just changing it. And I'm not sure of the incremental traffic load on the overpasses, but this isn't a new project springing out of nowhere. It's an incremental change to an existing project. So the incremental change, I don't think is that significant, and I'll defer to my much better capable consultants to answer those questions specifically. But I wanted to be here just, being the applicant for any specific questions you may have, any way that I can answer them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emery. Before I let Mr. Emery sit down, does any of the commissioners have any questions for him? Okay, Commissioner Cook.
I think that the 450 jobs that you propose to bring, I think that's wonderful. I'm all for creating, employment for our citizens and people in the area. My primary concern is still the aspect of putting in the warehouse without other commercial businesses in the area. The thing that concerns me most is to think people drive down I-10 and they look over and they see Desert Hot Springs and it looks like a bunch of warehouses there. Mm-hmm. And frankly, that's my primary focus, is to get retail,
on the freeway,
hotels, etc., along the highway to make it friendly for the people that are coming through that may want to stop and, have a meal or spend the night or whatever. And that's my concern.
No, and I understand that. Clearly, having the industrial buildings in place increases the probability of getting, the way retail development now is, no one's developing any retail on spec, on the hope of someone coming. It's not going to happen. It's a signed deal with a tenant, and the tenants want to see the activity nearby. I believe it's viable. I don't know what else to, I really do believe it's viable with these buildings, and that's not including any adjacent development. Just this development specifically.
Well, other than that, just what Ms. Grant was concerned about with the traffic situation, I think that is something to be concerned about also. But, you have the study, it was done in June, which was only like 5 months ago, 4 months ago, whatever.
Yeah. With the top consultant that was recommended by the city staff, not the least expensive consultant or the fastest, but the top consultant. So we wanted to work with that, and they were working on the basis of the project, and we took all the recommendations. I'll defer to staff, but I don't think we argued with any. I think we took all the recommendations as provided. We want to see this project. The market right now, and you can read the headlines, there's some quakes, I'll be honest with you, in the market. We were really hopeful 3 months ago to getting this going right away and getting the funding and getting started. I still think that's there. But it's, you can read the headlines, and when people read headlines like that, it doesn't matter who they are, people get nervous and they pull back and be conservative. We want to get going right away. One of the real attractions, I believe, to Desert Hot Springs is the untapped employee base. What some of these big, large tenants are finding in some of the other cities is there's too much competition for the particular type of employees that they're looking for, and they're running out of possible staff. Desert Hot Springs, I think, provides some of those opportunities, and I think those are real opportunities for your residents.
Anything further, Commissioner Cook? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Emery, I have nothing further. Is there any other questions from the Planning Commission at this time? Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Emery.
Thank
You
you
can
for
go
your
ahead
time.
and take a seat. Go ahead and close the public hearing and move back into Planning Commission discussion. I've listened to Commissioner Grant's concerns. I've listened to Commissioner Cook's concerns. I'd like to thank the applicant for all of you coming up to take the time to answer all of those questions for us. You did a wonderful job doing so. Is there any other questions or comments that any of us would like to make before we move on to the voting stage again?
My only concern, again, is, and Richard, you, Chairman, you've already, I think, answered it, is about the permits and everything required to do the retail space and the timeline for that. That was my secondary concern as to, proceeding with this project. And you've already answered that.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook. Commissioner Grant, do you have anything?
No, thank you, though.
Thank you. Vice Chair Nindell? No. Okay. At this time, we'll go ahead and move to the motion stage again. And I would like to repeat my motion. I would like to make a motion for a resolution of the Planning Commission recommending that the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, California, 1, adopt the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration. 2, approve the Desert Gateway Specific Plan Amendment Number SP 22-3, amending the Desert Harvest Specific Plan in the city. 3, approve Design Review Number 22-1. 4, approve Tract Map Number 22-3. And 5, approve an ordinance amending Chapter 17.190, an application to amend the Desert Harvest Specific Plan and develop a logistics center, IRIDHS Land LLC, with the corrections to conditions 85 and 86 that staff presented to us earlier this evening. That is my motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. May we go ahead and move on to the voting, please?
Commissioner Cook,
Aye.
Commissioner Grant,
Will you come back for me, please?
Vice Chair Nindell,
Aye.
Chair Duffel,
Aye.
Commissioner Grant.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to the applicant. This time, we will go ahead and move on to the public comments. This is an opportunity that is given to those members of the public who have not addressed the Planning Commission on an item which is not on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Please state your name and city of residence for the record. Are there any public comments this evening?
We have none.
Fantastic. At this time, it is 6:43 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.